You have to have the cash. You have to have the money. Otherwise, you cannot use it.
No. What do I do in that situation? Picture this. You're about to close a deal to buy shares in a privately held company, and someone swoops in and claims the opportunity. Frustrating, right? Mm-hmm. And that is what is called right of first refusal. In this episode, you will learn exactly how to use it and when there's a better alternative for you. So we have Kat here to explain everything. So this sounds a bit tricky, but we're here to share the knowledge about the business law and today about this topic.
And it's incredibly useful.
Yes.
It is. So, right of first refusal.
Yes.
If you listen to it, there's always also another term where you call it a last look. So it can be used in any type of transactions, selling of home, real estate, shares in a company, really any kind of a transaction, deal, selling something. But let's start with the shareholder because that's what we talk a lot about here.
Yes, someone swoops in and claims the opportunity.
Yeah. So what it is it's an agreement in advance where we say that if you want to sell your shares, you have to offer them to me first.
Okay, because you're a shareholder in the company.
Yeah. Let's imagine that you and I, we have a company together. We own 50-50. And I mean, you know me, Kat, for 10 years, and we work great together. We make all of the decisions jointly. If I'm not around, you know you can do whatever you want. Fantastic. The company is doing great. And then one day, there is a knock on your door. When you open, there's a Mr. Greedy.
No, he's back.
He's back. And he says, well, I bought Kat's shares, so now I own 50% of the company.
Oh, so then there are two of us being the owners.
Yeah.
Oh, no.
So from that day on, you would have to agree with Mr. Greedy on everything. And Mr. Greedy is not easy.
No, he's not.
He wants to pick the company apart and sell the assets. So that is why you have a right to first refusal. Because if we have that in our shareholders agreement, it says that I have to come to you and say, you know what, Ida? I want to sell my shares for price per share of 100 to Mr. Greedy. Do you want to buy them instead? So you can control the ownership picture of the company by saying, you know what, I want to buy them instead. Because then I cannot go and sell them to Mr. Greedy, and he will never come knocking at your door. He will never be let in to your company.
Okay.
So that's why it's so important.
That's so important. Do you write that in the shareholders agreement?
Yep.
Wow. I'm going to remember that.
Yeah, it's really important. And also good to know that there are nuances, that it can look different with the timelines and different conditions, and also how it relates to other transfer restrictions in the company that you should think about. And of course, if we should start also with mentioning the downside with the right of first refusal. That is that if you're the party that wants to sell your shares and you want to go and shop around, it can be much harder for you to get Mr. Greedy and all of his wealthy friends to actually negotiate with you if there is a right to first refusal. Because they might not want to spend time, resources, energy negotiating with you if you know that Ida can come and just swoop the deal off the table. So it can be a bit of a turn-off for third parties looking to buy, and it's a very good protection for you who want to stay in the company and have the control.
Wow.
And also good to know is that if I come to you and say, I want to sell my shares for a price per share to 100, I mean, you have to have the cash. You have to have the money. Otherwise, you cannot use it.
No. What do I do in that situation?
Well, either you get a bank loan or some financing, or you have to turn it down and see Mr. Greedy buy instead.
Oh.
Yeah. So reality is tough. It's not like a magical solution to a conflict or when somebody wants out, but it's a mechanism that shifts the control from the selling party.
Okay, and that's why this clause is so important.
Yeah.
Wow.
And there is an alternative
Yeah.
that I'm the one wanting to sell my shares that I would prefer. And that is the right of first offer.
I never heard of that.
No, because right of first refusal, like we talked about now, that's the last look. You look before the deal is completed and you get to say, I want it instead. This is the first look. That means that before I go to the market and weigh my shares and say, hey, does anybody want to buy them? I have to go and offer them to you. So it's more of an open-ended first look. I want to sell my shares. Do you want to give me an offer?
Sound more friendly to do that.
It's more friendly. It's better for me. But the downside for you will be that you do not know the market price for my shares at that moment. So you have to take a chance. And you do not know who would be the unknown third party coming in buying the shares. So you cannot take an informed decision in the same way. But the benefit for you will be that if it's a sensitive, I mean, the company is just about to do a funding round, looking for new investors, then if you have a right to first offer instead, then it will not be known to the market that I want to sell if you come in directly and we negotiate and make the deal happen. So it's earlier in the process, good and bad, and the right of first refusal is at the end of the process.
Okay.
For good and bad.
Ah, good to know.
Good to know.
But I've heard about this. There's shortenings for these two terms as well.
Yeah, right of first refusal, the ROFR, the last look is kind of an easy way to remember it. And right of first offer, ROFO. So if you hear people throwing that around, that's what it is. But it's okay to ask also.
Yes, because you lawyers, you love shortenings.
Yes. And I try to stay clear on them as much as possible.
Yeah, but this is really good to know.
Yeah. It's nice to know the lingo when everybody else is throwing it around, right?
Yeah.
And one last thing to know is that this can also be in relation to business deals. I mean, imagine that you and I have a joint venture. When we launch our product in New York, we go in 50-50. I'm the producer. So you say, you know what? If you're going to launch this in Dallas or Miami, I want a right to first refusal. I want to be able to be your business partner also in those cities. But that can be complex because then what is the information that I have to provide you? Because what if I have to negotiate for a year with another business partner and have a complete agreement before I can present it to you so you can make the decision if you want to refuse or step into the deal? So in such cases, it will be more of a hybrid between the right of first refusal and the right of first offer. So somewhere in between, where I want to go to Dallas, I have this in mind, this and that. Do you want in or not? And if you say no, I should be entitled to go and negotiate further with other partners.
Okay.
So remember, the devil is in the details.
As always.
As always. But now you have good pointers and you know what's the advantages and the disadvantages are with each clause.
Yes, very informative. But I think about one thing. If you forget to have this clause in the shareholders agreement, can you just go and sell to whoever you want then?
Basically, I mean, there can be something in the Articles of Association, of course, but if you put that aside, then yes, because the shares are my property. So you cannot force me to sell them, and I cannot force you to buy them, of course. That's the baseline. My property, I decide if I want to sell or not, and to whom I want to sell, and at what price. That's the baseline. So that is why we love the shareholders agreement. That's why we always want that in place.
Yeah, it's a good piece of paper.
Very, very good piece of paper to have. And
Wow.
one last thing in relation to the shareholders agreement, that is the right of first refusal. Remember to be clear how that will relate to other transfer restrictions. So imagine that you have a drag along, that you have a right, if you're the majority, you control 75% of the company, then you can agree with the buyer that wants to buy the whole company. You can say the price, and you can force me, the minority, to come along to the same terms and conditions. But should I have a right of first refusal? So if you come to me and say, I've negotiated this deal for 100% of the company, and I say, you know what, I can finance that. I like this. I want to buy your 75% instead because I have a right of first refusal that takes over the drag-along. Or should it be the other way around, that the drag-along is not, the right of first refusal is not applicable to the drag-along?
Oh, that's important to think of.
Important, and the general recommendation would be to separate them, because it's very hard to negotiate the transaction buying of a whole company that's very costly and time consuming because you have to do the due diligence and everything if there is a risk that somebody else comes in and swoop the deal. So my general recommendation would be to have the drag along as a standalone where the right of first refusal does not apply. But if you are the party that would be interested in buying out and buying the whole company, you want it to apply.
Okay, that's really good inside information.
Yeah.
And now we flexed our legal muscles here today and I learned a lot. Thank you.
Yeah. So glad to share this, and please give us your questions and comments. We get so much on direct messages from LinkedIn and so we try to catch everything. And
please tell us about your companies because we're so curious about that.
Yeah, indeed.
And don't forget to subscribe to this channel because you do not want to miss this. It's so fun and it's so important, and it's going to make you take informative decisions and mindful decisions in your company. And remember, this is not legal advice, it's knowledge sharing and entertainment for YouTube. So we're having the inside info from the business lawyer here.
Yeah, let's learn and grow.
We learn and grow together. So stay tuned and I'll see you next time.